would like to welcome you to our Deficit Thinking project at UTRGV, focusing on the topic of Hispanic students and how they are seen with their curricular choice of graduation, by Brian Roldan, Aden Barrera, and Jose Lasso. We hope you enjoy our video today. You may wonder what deficit thinking is. Well, it's educational professionals and others tend to assume that when students from disadvantaged or marginalized circumstances struggle in school, they do so because their circumstances hinder their academic progress. That is why we chose to talk about Hispanic students and how their graduation stats are seen by others, and the effects it has on their mental health going on to continue their studies in college.
My own experiences with my cultural background and how I was raised and seen by the people who should have been uplifting me in education throughout elementary and high school did hinder me at first. But it also gave me the motivation to keep pushing on and achieve greater things than they ever imagined about me. I have seen and heard so much that Hispanic students coming from migrant working families with immigrant parents wouldn't make it far, but I'm here to show that I will, and so will others. So with that, I say always reach for the stars.
Growing up in a low-income immigrant family, there was always the sense that certain fields like computer science or engineering were out of reach for people like me with my background. Throughout high school, I had some teachers and even classmates who would casually tell someone with a cultural background like mine that we would struggle with the complexity of the subject. Some even suggested focusing on more realistic careers, implying that tech or engineering wasn't meant for people like us. Despite these discouraging voices, this motivated me to prove to them that potential isn't defined by where you come from, and success is possible regardless of your background or circumstances.
In my own experience as a first-generation college student, I, like many others, struggled to go to college, whether it be because of my teachers discouraging me from going to college, or because my fellow peers thought I wouldn't make it because I came from a lower-class household. These thoughts plagued me for a very long time, until one night, I promised myself to prove them wrong and achieve what I've always wanted to become. So, if my experience can teach anyone reading this anything, please continue thriving and persevering through all challenges and become who you want to be.
All in all, deficit thinking can and has affected us in many different ways, whether it be being affected by people who were supposed to be inspiring, yet did nothing but foster doubt, or being put below others because of ethnic background. However, even though these experiences were negative, we were able to change them into positives and use them as fuel to continue our studies. And I hope sharing these experiences can help uplift others in the ways it did to us.
university, one can say that the most stressful thing to experience is the workload given, but others may say it's actually the mental toll that occurs as a result of that work in a student's environment. Current society has rejected thinking regarding how an individual should uphold themselves when showing emotion or seeking help, and that applies no differently to a student. Here on campus, a person may feel compelled to conform to society's standards of perfection and overwork themselves to reach that standard. Every step taken appears as though climbing the highest stairs in the world. For some students, going to class can feel like a burden, and the professor's lesson sounds as though it were background noise. Grades can slip, and as a result, seeking the professor for guidance can be a challenge because some may feel as if doing that makes them lesser than the standard they hold upon themselves. Days on campus may feel like a chore and a responsibility to carry, but with the right people, they can make those days a little less melancholic.
Deficit Thinking and Professors by Lilian Vargas, Yatsiri Pitalua, Randy Kansu.
Agenda. What is deficit thinking? What does this practice cause? Examples of deficit thinking with students and professors. How to combat these practices.
What is deficit thinking? It is when you blame people for their problems rather than their bigger issues that might be affecting them.
What does this practice cause? Is stigmatization. People get unfairly labeled as less capable, perpetuating failure. Problems get worse because the root cause get ignored. Inequality justifies existing unfairness by blaming individuals.
Academic settings, we often see professors apply this kind of thinking with students. Oftentimes, these practices stereotype and place biases on students.
What effects do these practices have on students? Professors have a tendency to place lower expectations on students who come from less fortunate backgrounds or who don't fit the norm. Examples. Labeling students as lazy because they can't perform as well academically as other students. Blaming outside circumstances for students underperforming. Lack of motivation, not placing enough value on their education. Blaming culture different or language barriers as barriers.
How it affects students. Deficit thinking will discourage students from taking an activity role in their learning and from trying to success in the classroom. It knows their confidence and limits their efforts in the classroom. Deficit thinking often turns into the fixing mindsets for the students, meaning that they will see themselves as incapable of achieving greater things and striving for more.
Deficit thinking versus asset thinking. Deficit thinking focuses on potential for success. The deficit model is based on something missing in the child. The child is lacking something or is broken and must be fixed. Asset thinking, rich in spirit and unique, focuses on potential for success based on the strengths of the child. Success is due to motivation and generally what the child brings to the equation.
Bad deficit thinking practices. Educators must reflect on what deficit thinking is and their own beliefs. Learn about students' differences as use them as assets rather than setbacks. Focus on their strengths. Avoid stereotyping. Keep other students accountable to keep them from using deficit thinking with classmates. Encourage all students.
Thank you. We hope you enjoy it.
Hey bro, today I was in class and they were talking about deficit thinking or something like that.
Oh yeah, deficit thinking. You don't know what's that?
No, actually I didn't understand it in class.
Okay, I'll explain you. Deficit thinking is a way of seeing people's struggles as their own fault, rather than thinking about outside problems that might be affecting them. When someone has a deficit mindset, they believe that people are struggling because they don't have the right skills, knowledge, or motivation. They don't look at the things like unfair treatment, lack of resources, or biased systems. which can also make life difficult for certain groups of people. Okay, perfect. The definition was good, but I still don't get it, so can you give me an example? Of course, for example, imagine an immigrant whose native language isn't English. The school assumes that he will have low academic potential because he don't speak English well, instead of recognizing the richness of his multilingual skills and understanding that language barriers can be overcome with proper support. Damn, that's true. I never realized about that.
Hello everyone. Today we'll be talking about the importance of acknowledging student diversity and cultural strengths in the classroom. We chose this topic because we feel like it's something that doesn't get talked about enough and deserves to have a spotlight shown onto it. To start, it's critical to know that the neglecting of students' cultural strengths can have a negative impact on their development and learning. When a student feels like their cultural strengths are being neglected in a classroom setting, it can significantly hinder their development and learning and lead to feelings of alienation, low self-esteem, disengagement from the classroom, and a lack of motivation to participate, ultimately impacting their academic performance and overall well-being. By not recognizing and leveraging their cultural background, educators miss opportunities to foster a more inclusive and supportive learning environment for diverse students. In order to address this issue, teachers can take the initiative by acknowledging it and recognizing what these students have to offer and building on their skills. There's many ways to do this. For a start, they can incorporate diverse perspectives and experiences into the curriculum by using teaching methods that align with students' cultural backgrounds. This helps the students feel more welcome and cared about. They can even go an extra step and actively engage with students to understand their cultural values, traditions, and communication styles. As an aspiring educator, it's important for us to make sure students feel welcomed in the classroom and feel like they're being actively taken care of. This will promote their wellness in the classroom setting and set them up for future success. Thank you for giving us your attention.
Beyond labels, challenging deficit thinking for better mental health, raising awareness among UTRGV students. What is deficit thinking? Ever felt judged because of your background? That's deficit thinking, assuming some students aren't capable just because of where they're from. It affects students everywhere, including UTRGV. It matters because it's a hidden barrier that affects students' confidence and opportunities. How deficit thinking impacts mental health awareness. Deficit thinking focuses on what individuals lack rather than their strengths or potential. This mindset can have severe consequences such as increased stress, self-doubt, isolation, and harm to mental health. Deficit thinking is a barrier we don't need. Instead, we should focus on the strengths, possibilities, and building supportive environments. Harmful cycles can trap individuals in a pattern of negativity and limit their potential. These cycles often include negative thoughts, low expectations, negative experiences, focus on deficits, and blocked opportunities. Imagine constantly hearing, "They won't make it, even if it's unspoken." These assumptions can change how you see yourself. Breaking these cycles starts with fostering belief, focusing on strengths, and creating opportunities for success. But you're not alone. UTRGV offers counseling, peer groups, and mentors who believe in your potential. Reaching out can help break down these assumptions. Let's build a positive self-image. You're more than the stereotypes. Trust in yourself, focus on your strengths, and remember that your journey is unique. You are more than the labels placed on you. Let's stand together against deficit thinking. Let's support one another to create a campus culture that values mental health and self-confidence. #UTRGV Wellness.